Boker Tov. Today's Daf Yomi is Bava Metzia Daf Ayin Test, Bava Metzia 79. Today's Daf Yomi is dedicated to a Yeshua for Am Yisrael, Hatzalah for the Shvuyim, the Shmira for the Chayalim. Daf Yomi is going to start on 79a, around 9 lines from the top. Amarav bar Afuna, Amarav Hasocher Asachamor Lerchov Aleh. Let's say you rent a donkey and your intent is to ride on the donkey. You wanted to take this donkey and ride the donkey from Washington, D.C. all the way to New York. And the donkey dies basically somewhere on I-95. Dies on the Pulaski Highway. Halfway there, dies in Delaware. So the person who rents it has to give to the owner he has to pay him for half of the way that he got there. And he only has a complaint against him. He doesn't have a legal claim, he only has a complaint. So again, he has to pay for half the journey and he has a complaint. He's allowed to be upset at him. So the Gemara says, Hey Chidami, what is this scenario? If it's possible very easily to grab another donkey there, you can call Uber Donkey, get on another donkey where you are in Delaware, then if that's the case, if he's easy to get another rental, then why is he upset? Just get another donkey. And if he can't find another rental, let's say he's dropped in the middle of the road and there's nobody around, and then why does he have to pay him? What did this guy do for him? So the Gemara says, yeah, he's not going to find another donkey to rent there. So why does he have to pay him? Mishum da'amrei, because the owner of the initial donkey will say to the renter, if you wanted to get to here, wouldn't you have to pay me? So since I brought you here, you have to pay me. Of course, Tosfos asked the obvious question. The guy didn't want to go there. So why does he have to pay? He didn't want to go there. So Tosfos says, no, first of all, you can get another rental there, but you have to pay a little bit more. So therefore, since you can get one, but you just have to pay a little bit more, you have to pay for that. And a second answer Tosfos gives is, actually, the place he got to, he could do business also. So it also has some benefits. So the Gemara says, Hey Chidami, but still, what's the scenario that we're talking about? If the renter said, just give me a donkey to get to where I'm going, well, then he should have to give him another donkey. He shouldn't be okay to say, go rent another donkey. The owner should have to give him that donkey. He should have to pay him, replace it. And if he said specifically this donkey, well, then he has, so to speak, a lien on that donkey. And so therefore, if you could sell the carcass and purchase another donkey, that's what they should have to do. Why does he have to rent another donkey under those circumstances? Gemara says, no, they can't sell the carcass. There won't be enough money to buy another donkey. Well, if that's the case, so Gemara says, so Gemara asks another question. Well, if that's the case, okay, granted, you sell the carcass, you might not have enough money to buy another donkey, but you should have enough money to rent another donkey. So why can't he just take the donkey's carcass, he has a lien on it, and use that money that he paid to basically rent another donkey? So Rav Otame, so the reason why he doesn't do that is Rav follows his logic. The Amar Rav says, that the owner is not required to destroy the principal. Meaning to say, if he would sell this donkey just to pay for the way for this person for a rental, then the owner will be destroying his principal, and that we're not required to do. Dinmar, we learned if you rent a donkey and the donkey is halfway there. Rav says if you have the ability to sell the carcass and buy another donkey, that you could do. But if you just have the ability to sell it to rent another donkey and thereby you're going to gut the principal, that you don't do. Shmuel says no, since there's a lien on the donkey, also to just rent it, you would be required, the owner would be required to do. What's the nature of their argument? Rav says that the owner is not required to destroy his principal in order to complete the transaction. Shmuel savar machlin karna. Shmuel says no, the owner will be required to destroy the principal in this case. So the Gemara says, well, let's challenge the position of Rav. Rav says you're not required to destroy the principal, but we have the following price. So it says Yave Sha'ilan. So here what we're talking about is, it's called Mashkanta de Surah. We had this type of case earlier in Ezeu Neshach. Ruvain lends money to Shimon. Shimon gives to Ruvain a tree as a collateral, and in giving him that tree, he basically Shimon can Ruvain and lend money to Shimon. Shimon give him a tree. Ruvain can pull down the fruits from that tree until the loan is paid off, and that tree is called a collateral. So, but let's say that tree dries up, Yave Sha'ilan, or Niktzat, or the tree was cut down. So now, Shneim Asurin, well, both of them are prohibited to use the basically dead wood from the tree. The lender can't use it because the tree was supposed to go back, can't destroy the principal. The tree is supposed to go back to the borrower. The borrower can't use it because the lender was allowed to pull down the fruits. So if they use that tree, then they're going to be destroying the principal. So what should they do? So what should they do? Yilakach bo karka. Then they should take the wood and use it to buy real estate. And the lender will consume the fruits of that real estate until such time as the loan is paid off. The Gemara says, but in this case, but in this case, once the Jubilee year comes, the land will return to its original owner. And so therefore, this land that you purchased is going to be gone, and the principal is going to be destroyed. So therefore, isn't this a case of Kal Yakarna? Didn't Rav say, well, Kal Yakarna, we don't destroy the principal? Mar says, no, what we're talking about here is the Zabin way. We're talking about here is the case is the Zabin way was Shitin Shanin. The Jubilee year is not going to destroy this, the principal, because the Jubilee year won't take effect here. Why won't the Jubilee year take effect? Because the Jubilee year, because it was sold for 60 years, and the Jubilee year only takes effect when it wasn't sold for a specific amount of years. So since it was sold for 60 years, the Jubilee year won't take effect. We're on 79a, around 15 lines from the bottom. So the Gemara says, the Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Rav Katina, Minayla Mochar Sadeh Shishim Shana Sheina Chozeres. How do we know if you sell your field for 60 years, Sheina Chozeres B'Yovel, that the Jubilee year doesn't make you lose the land, go back to its original owner? And then it's based upon the fact that it says, Va'aretz lo timacher it's misus, the land cannot be sold in perpetuity. So when does the Jubilee year apply? Misha Ein Sham Yovel, Nitzmetzes. Yesh Sham Yovel Ein Nitzmetzes. That means that if there is no Jubilee year, it will be in perpetuity. But if there is a Jubilee year, it won't be in perpetuity. Yatz Tazu, and excludes this case, Shav Pisha Ein Sham Yovel, even without the Jubilee year, Ein Nitzmetzes, it would not be sold into perpetuity. So therefore, the Jubilee year won't apply, and so therefore it's not sold in perpetuity. The principal won't be destroyed. But Gemara says, yeah, but that doesn't make sense because the principal will be destroyed because after 60 years he's going to lose the principal. So therefore the Kakal Yakarna. So the Gemara says, no, what we're talking about here is Bisman she'ena yovel noeg. Okay, we don't have to be worried that the Jubilee year is going to ruin the principal, because the principal will go back to the original owner, because it's a time when the Jubilee year doesn't apply. At a simple level, Jubilee year only applies when the most of the Jewish people are living in the land of Israel. Bisman sharov to Yoshvea aleha. Most of the people are living on the land. Even though we're getting very close to that, that still won't make sure the Jubilee year applies, because there are other factors that are needed. Just for many years, everybody was saying until that Jubilee year doesn't apply until most of the people live on the land. Now we're getting to that, but still, that also has to be, we have to know who each tribe is. So the Jubilee year doesn't apply anymore. But so the Gemara says, and Hachinami Mistabra, indeed, this is the logical position. These Salkadaitach Bizman Shayovel Noeg, if you want to say it's at the time that the Jubilee year does apply, Umechlin Karna, and then the author of this brisa says you really can destroy the principal, and it's a question on Rava. Well, if that's the case, why do you have to sell it at all? Let him just take the wood. Let the owner, the lender of the property, just take the wood and sell it, and take the money. So that would have already proved on its own. If he would have been allowed to do that, he wouldn't have to sold it for real estate. He could have just used it for the wood, and the principal would have been destroyed that way, and he would have paid back his loans. The Gemara says, no, imisham well, kasha, that wouldn't have been, that's not a proof. Why? Zimnin deshalmu shnei mishkanta mikmei yovel. Because if it's possible that you could have paid off the debt prior to the Jubilee year. Rashi says the Shamale Yemei Mashkanta, that you would pay off the days of the loan. Shanim Shaya Ilam and Mushkan Lo, there were years where the tree was collateral trim, Yachul Lefnei Yovel, Arba Chameshanim. They would finish before the Jubilee year. And those years, the borrower could get the fruits before it will return to the original owner. And so therefore, it's possible to say that we do destroy the principal. Meaning to say, or inami dematole zuzu parakla arba chamishanim mikmeyovel. Or else it's possible that he would pay off the debt. Meaning to say that it's delayed in the way it would get destroyed. So it's possible that the years that it was collateral will finish before the Jubilee year, or that it'll pay off the debt before the Jubilee year. And under those circumstances, the land will return to the borrower before the Jubilee year, and so therefore the principal wouldn't have been destroyed. So that, I mean, say if you sell the wood right away, it's a quicker circumstance. So now the Gemara 4 lines from the bottom on 79a says the following. We had said if you rent a donkey and you get halfway, who has to pay? So we have a similar case with a ship. Somebody rents a ship. You rent a ship to carry your wine. You want your wine to be brought across on the ship, let's say from New York City all the way to Israel, and the ship sinks. Rabbi Nassan says, Im Nassan lo yitol. Rabbi Nassan says, if he had already given the money, even the whole thing, then the owner could take the money. Vim lo Nassan, lo yitol. But if he didn't give him anything, lo yitain. He shouldn't give him any money. Meaning to say that the one who makes the claim has the lower hand. We keep the money where it is. So the Gemara says, well, what's the scenario of this price? What's the scenario? If you want to say, we're talking about where he says, I want you to take wine for me on this specific ship. Well, if that's the case, why doesn't the person who paid get his money back? Namely, he could say, Havli Sfinta, produce the ship, and then you could keep my money. Because I can always get different wine. So it must be Albisvina Stam. He must say, I want you to bring it on any ship, the Yayin and this wine, and bring this wine on any ship. Well, if that's the case, Imlonas, and if he didn't give the money, and he should have to give the money because the guy can produce a ship. Because on the top of 79b, the owner of the ship could say, give me give me any wine. V'ana maisinos, give me this wine. V'ana maisinos finta, and I'll bring a ship. I mean, the deal should still be on. So Amar Papa, ela b'sfina zil v'yayin zeh. So what we're talking about is where he says, the scenario he says, I want you to bring this wine on this ship. That's where the claimant has the lower hand because we don't have this wine or this ship anymore and we leave the money where it is. But if he had said, bring wine for me on a ship, then they both have an equal claim and cholkin, and we split the money. Now we have the next case. Somebody rents out a ship, and the ship breaks. The ship breaks somewhere along the road. Excuse me, not the ship breaks. That was the last case. The guy unloads his bundles halfway there. So therefore, so what has happened? He rents out the ship and he unloads it. So then the renter only has to pay him for half the journey, and the owner of the ship only has a complaint against him. Now, meaning to say, he stopped in the middle. That's the assumption at this point. She says, the assumption of the Gemara is, excuse me. And let's say he rented it for $100 to take it all the way to Israel. Got to London, Parka, he unloaded the ship, and he took off his bundles. Gemara says, what's the scenario? Why do we say he only has a complaint against him? He doesn't have a legal claim, he just has the right to be upset. If we're talking about a case where the owner of the ship can easily find another ride, another fare, another cargo, well, if that's the case, what right does he have get upset? You got another fare. Why are you getting upset? Me, the low and if he doesn't find another fare, then the guy who took off his cargo should have to pay him the full deal. He can't just leave him high and dry in the middle. A deadhead, they call it. So therefore, Gemara says, "Olam the kamishkacha agura." So really, what's happening is the guy can find another fare. The owner of the ship can easily find another fare. So if that's the case, why does he have a complaint? Why does he have a complaint? Mishum rafasta disfinta. Because even though he has another fare, there's still wear and tear on the ship. That the ship was going to get worse every time you bring the cargo up the plank, put some wear and tear on it, and that's problematic. The Gemara says, well, if that's the case, well, if that's the case, then the owner of the ship has a legit claim, not just a taromas. He has a legit claim for his money. He's costing him the wear and tear of the ship. So therefore, the Gemara says, "Elamai parka." What does it mean? He unloaded it. It means to parka to una begave. So what happened was that he added more stuff. That's what it means. That look at Rashi says. Rashi says, "Bechatzi aderach halfway there, hosif lateit b'chavilo chayulo l'sham." He added on more cargo to take. The renter had initially stipulated that that's part of his condition. He can put in what he wants. And he'll have to put in more money and he'll pay. But so therefore he has to give him extra money of the half, like prorating it based upon a half a journey. So fine. So that's what we're talking about. So that's what it means. So the Gemara says, well, if that's the case, so then why is the owner upset? He says, because you changed in the middle, and it's annoying to me. I thought I was going quicker and coming back quicker. I calculated I'd be there back by Tuesday at noon. Now you're pushing me off to Tuesday at 5. You're messing up my plans. So he's allowed to be upset, but he doesn't have a legal claim. Or inami la'ashla yasera. Or now the owner can claim, Rashi says, I need to buy ropes. The owner of the ship was responsible for the ropes, and I need to buy heavier ropes because when the ship is heavier, I have to go into the middle of the river to a place where it's deeper water, so it won't get stuck, and I'll need longer ropes. And you didn't tell me that I would need these types of ropes, so you're annoying. So that's the case. Tanrabanan hasocher esachamor or kovala. Let's say you rent out a donkey to ride upon it. Socher maniach alel ksuso. Vulignuso umizonosav shaloso aderach. So let's say you hire a donkey to ride on it. So then the renter is allowed to put on it. So what would be is the owner of the donkey driver, and the renter would both be putting their stuff on the donkey. So the renter is allowed to put on it his clothing and his water jugs, and he could put all of his provisions for the journey. Anything more, the donkey driver is allowed to say that's too much. The donkey driver can put upon it se'orim, the barley, v'tevin, the straw, umuzonosav shaloso hayom. He's putting on it the barley and the straw for the donkey to eat, and his own food, the owner's own food just for that day. From that point on, the renter could stop him. Gemara says, well, what's the scenario? What's the scenario? If you're easily going to be able to buy food, like you can go to the restaurant and get dinner that night. Well, if that's the case, chamor nami liyakev. Well, then the donkey driver should also be able to stop the renter, the customer, from putting food on. And if you can't find anything to purchase, socher nami liyakev, then the renter also shouldn't be able to stop the owner from putting on food. He should be allowed to put on more than one day's food. So Amar Rav Papa, what we're talking about here says Rav Papa, So the case is that you can find food, the shliach, the shliach mitrach mizban, that you can go out and work a little and buy food. Every night when you get there, you can go out and find the food. Rashi says, every night you can go out. When you get there, you hustle around, you get a meal. But the donkey driver is used to this. He knows how to go out into the city and says, who's selling supper? But the socher, the renter, he's basically a tourist. He's not going to know where to buy the food, and so therefore he's allowed to take it with him. Let's say you rent out a donkey for a man to ride on it. A woman is not allowed to ride on it. Isha, but if you rent out a donkey for a woman to ride on it, ish the isha. If you rent out the donkey for a woman to ride on it, then a man and a woman can ride on it. Ben gedola, ben katana, whether she's big or small. So what's the reasoning that if you rent out the donkey for a man, a woman's not allowed to ride on it? And the reason is because the woman is heavier than the man. But how does that make sense? The woman is not heavier than the man. So it must be that the woman is not actually heavier, but she carries heavier. Because since she's not used to riding on a donkey, she doesn't know how to hold herself. She's not as experienced a rider. And so therefore it's a heavier burden for the donkey. We see from here the Musar Haskell for life is it's not about how much you weigh, it's about how you carry yourself. And if you carry yourself the wrong way, it'll become a very big burden. So anyway, we say that the woman, once you rent out the donkey for a woman to ride on it, She can run it whether she's big or small. Afilu muberes v'afilu minika. Even if she's pregnant and even if she's nursing. And Gemara says, wait, Hasheminikas Amris Mubaris Mibaye. What if she could go on the donkey even when she's nursing, i.e., with her nursing child? It's two bodies for sure. She can go on it when she's pregnant, for sure. Why do you need to tell us that she can go on it when she's pregnant? Then she's just one body. So the Gemara says, Amar Papa Mubaris Vihi Minika Kamar. Now it means to say, if she's pregnant and nursing at the same time, she's also allowed to go on it. So Amar Abaye Shmami, no, we see from here Vinise Akarsa Takoa. We see from here, it says Abaye, that a fish that's sold in the marketplace by the weight, Binise, that's the fish that's sold by the weight, Akarsa Takoa. According to its belly, is its weight. Meaning to say, if its belly is bigger, its weight is more. What's in the belly? The intestines, not the part you eat, but the junk that you toss. So why do we need to know this? That to tell you that if you go to buy a fish, you see a fish that its belly is so good, don't buy it because first you have to take out the part from the belly. Why does a buyer need to tell us this? Why does the buyer need to tell us this? So Abai is basically telling us, don't be fooled by the belly. The belly is the junk, the weight. If you're attributing it to the belly, it's not a good way to judge a purchase of a fish. So don't judge a book by its cover is the lesson there. So okay, well, first of all, we'll stop the recording here, and we'll say is Rabbi